The council chamber was a vast place of glass, stone, and silent judgment. It sat in orbit above the planet Varix, shining cold in the blackness of space. Species from 100 worlds gathered here, draped in silks and metals, tendrils waving, scaled jaws snapping in whispered conversation. Every race had a seat, every race a vote. And until today, humanity had played along. Commander Daniel Reeve sat alone at the long human table, a block of steel and wood among the fragile curves of alien designs. His face was unreadable. A lifetime of war and diplomacy had taught him when to speak, and when silence would cut deeper. His uniform was plain compared to the extravagant robes of his peers. A faded patch read, "Earth Fleet Command." They had made a mistake thinking humans would beg. High Chancellor Vectal, a bloated amphibian creature, slammed a thick gavel onto the central dais. His voice oozed through the translator nodes. "Order. The human delegation will respond to the Council's revised trade mandate. You have delayed long enough." Daniel rose slowly. His joints ached. He was 53 now, too old for the cockpit, too young to quit. He let his gaze drift across the room. A sea of calculating eyes stared back. Cold-blooded reptiles, hive-minded insects, mammalian predators. They all waited for the hairless apes to bow again. But Daniel wasn't here to bow. He activated the mic on his lapel. "On behalf of the Terran Confederation, I have reviewed the Council's terms." His voice was calm, low, deadly. Increased tariffs on human technology, restricted shipping lanes in our outer colonies. And now, a demand for exclusive access to Earth's Jumpgate network. The chamber rustled with amusement. Some races laughed openly. Humans had risen too fast in 100 years. Too clever, too aggressive, too unpredictable. The Council's elites would grind them back down. Daniel's knuckles tightened. His words came slower now. "Let me be perfectly clear. Earth will not be signing this treaty. Not today. Not ever." Silence. Then a chorus of indignant screeches and roars. Vectal bellowed again, slime bubbling from his throat. "You dare defy this council? The consequences will be severe. Humanity will be isolated, cut off." Daniel leaned forward, gaze cold. "You think Earth fears isolation?" He let out a dry chuckle. "We were alone when the stars first noticed us. We were alone when we fought back against the Zarn incursions. And if necessary, we will stand alone again." The insectoid Zarn delegate hissed sharply, mandibles clicking. "Empty threats. Your species will not survive without Council protection." Daniel's face hardened. "We never needed your protection. We earned our place in this galaxy with blood, steel, and sacrifice, not by begging favors from those who look down on us." A voice buzzed in his ear. Admiral Kovacs patched in from orbit. "Commander, Fleet Command reports full readiness. Orders?" Daniel gave a subtle nod. Time to end this farce. He deactivated his mic, stepped back from the table, and spoke loud enough for all to hear. "The Terran Confederation hereby withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately." A wave of pure panic swept the chamber. Diplomats surged from their seats, translators buzzed with chaos. Without the humans, without their fleets, their technology, the balance of power would shatter. Daniel turned on his heel. His boots echoed against polished stone. He walked out of the chamber without looking back. The Council had thought they could humble Earth. They had forgotten one truth. Humans don't back down. And when they walk away, they don't come back. Daniel stalked through the gilded corridors of the Council spire, each step deliberate, controlled. Behind him, alarms began to echo faintly, security alerts rippling through the station's systems. Good. Let them panic. Let them realize what they'd just done. As the chamber doors sealed shut behind him, his earpiece crackled again. "Commander, This is Kovac. Our fleet's picking up council vessels moving into interdiction patterns. Daniel smirked grimly. No surprise there. The council would bluff, flex their fleets, try to intimidate Earth back to the table. But Earth's fleets weren't built for show. They were built for war. Acknowledged, Daniel said flatly. Hold formation. No one fires unless fired upon. But if they do, we end it. Kovac's voice was ice. Daniel rounded a corner toward the private docking concourse reserved for Earth's delegation. 2 Terran Marines in matte black armor snapped to attention as he approached. Sergeant Holt, a grizzled brute with a scar running down his jaw, stepped forward. Sir, shuttle's prepped. You're clear to launch. Daniel nodded. Good work. Behind him, a dozen council envoys had already begun to stream into the hall, voices raised, hands flailing, demanding an audience. Too late. The doors to Earth's future had already closed, by the Council's own greed. He strode up the boarding ramp of the sleek Pathfinder-class diplomatic shuttle. The hatch sealed with a satisfying hiss. Inside, the cockpit crew greeted him with tight nods. Course locked for the flagship, sir, the pilot reported. Execute. As the engines roared to life, Daniel allowed himself a rare glance at the stars beyond the viewport. The great sprawl of the Council Armada drifted in orbit. Hundreds of alien vessels, beautiful, ornate, and hopelessly outgunned. He knew the truth. Everyone on Earth knew it now. The Council's fleets had numbers. Earth's fleets had kill ratios. For too long, humanity had tolerated second-class status in this so-called galactic community, paid their dues, fought the Council's wars, rebuilt their broken trade lanes after Council wars of ego. And what had they gotten in return? Tariffs, sanctions, open mockery. Well, no more. His shuttle broke free from the station's gravity lock and streaked toward the waiting human fleet. 3 carrier battle groups in high orbit, guns powered, shields hot. The flagship TCS Resolute was a slab of raw defiance in the void. Kovac's voice came through again. Commander, you stirred the hornet's nest. Multiple Council fleets are powering weapons. Orders? Daniel's lips curled into a thin, wolfish smile. Let them blink first. The Council was desperate, not suicidal. At least, not yet. The shuttle eased into the Resolute's bay with practiced grace. As Daniel disembarked, Kovac himself was waiting on the deck, a towering bear of a man with sharp eyes and a tighter jaw. Hell of a speech, Dan, Kovac said. I thought Vektal was going to choke on his own slime. Daniel shook his old friend's hand firmly. They wanted to cage us, Greg. They didn't think we'd have the balls to walk. Kovac grunted. They're used to clients, not equals. They'll learn. The hard way. Daniel's comms officer approached briskly. Sir, priority transmission incoming from Earth Command. President's office. Daniel nodded. Pipe it to the war room. Moments later, deep in the Resolute's armored core, Daniel stood before a hololink. The president's face flickered into view, lined with tension, but eyes burning. Commander Reeve, the Council's already transmitting ultimatums, demanding our return, threatening embargoes. Let them, Daniel said coolly. We won't crawl back. Not now. The president's gaze sharpened. Understood. You have full authority, Daniel. Earth stands with you. Hold the line. The link cut. Kovac cracked his knuckles. So what's our next move? Daniel stared at the star map, Earth's colonies, Council space, the fault lines that were now primed to snap. Simple, he said. We show them we won't be cornered, and if they want war... He looked up, voice cold as deep space. We remind them why they feared us in the first place. The war room aboard TCS Resolute thrummed with controlled energy. Holographic projections shimmered over the long, black table. Tactical grids, fleet movements, intercepted comms from panicked council systems. Around it stood Earth's best, battle-hardened admirals, intelligence chiefs, and operations commanders. No diplomats, not anymore. Daniel took his place at the head of the table. His gaze swept the room. "Status update," he ordered. Rear Admiral Stone, a grim-faced veteran with skin like leather, keyed the display. "Multiple Council fleets have repositioned near major hyperlanes. They're trying to choke off our outer colonies, Ravik Prime, Halo's Reach, and the Ferran Gates." Kovac cursed under his breath. Bold for a bunch of bureaucrats. Stone didn't flinch. "They're counting on us folding, but they're spread thin. Their internal comms are a mess. Half their allies don't trust the Council leadership anymore." Daniel leaned forward. "Good. We'll exploit that. I want a full readiness report from all sector commands. Every fleet is to prepare for independent action." "Aye, sir," Stone said. The intelligence chief, a thin, hawk-eyed man named Colonel Hartman, spoke next. "Council member worlds are already seeing unrest, protests. Some species are furious their leaders risked a rupture with Earth." Daniel allowed himself a dark smile. The Council had always viewed humans as outsiders, useful muscle, but uncivilized. They'd expected Earth to take the abuse forever. Now the whole galaxy would watch them scramble to contain the fallout. Kovac folded his arms. "You know they'll come after our colonies first. They won't dare a direct assault on Sol yet." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then we fortify the colonies, show them we won't blink, if they escalate." He glanced around the room, voice dropping like a blade. "We hit back. Hard." The room nodded grimly. Just then, the comms officer burst in. "Commander, priority signal from the Veyric system. Council forces have seized a Terran freighter convoy. Civilians aboard." A cold silence gripped the room. Daniel's voice was steel. "Details." 4 freighters, unarmed. They were en route to Halo's Reach. Council cruiser squadron intercepted them under the new sanctions directive. They're being held at Council military dockyards." Kovac slammed a fist on the table. "Goddamn cowards, using civilians as leverage!" Daniel's eyes burned now. This wasn't negotiation anymore. This was extortion. "We're done talking." He stood. "Prepare an extraction operation. Minimal force if possible, maximum force if necessary. We will not leave Terran citizens in their hands." Kovac grinned grimly. "Finally. Something I can sink my teeth into." Daniel turned to Stone. "I want the Third Fleet ready to move. Show of force along the Ferran Gates. Let the bastards know we're done playing by their rules." Stone saluted. "Aye, Commander." Daniel's gaze lingered on the star map. The Council had thought they were clever, pushing Earth, testing its resolve. But now they'd crossed a line. And humans? Humans didn't forget. Humans didn't forgive. As the room cleared to execute orders, Kovac lingered beside him. "This could spiral fast, Dan." Daniel nodded. "I know. But if we give in now, they'll bleed us dry, piece by piece. Better they learn now. If they corner us, they won't like what comes out of the corner." Kovac smirked darkly. "Damn right." As the first Terran ships began to shift into assault formations, Daniel stared at the swirling stars beyond the viewport. The galaxy was watching, and it would soon remember why Earth's enemies had once feared the words, "Human fleet en route." The hull of the Resolute vibrated softly as the fleet powered into jump formation. From the warbridge, Daniel watched the status reports flow in, ships locking vectors, weapons hot, shields primed. The Third Fleet was moving out with ruthless efficiency. No hesitation, no doubt. Below them, the black of space shimmered with the faint glow of Council traffic scrambling to reposition. They weren't prepared for this. They hadn't believed humanity would dare take action this fast. "Fleet ready to jump on your command, sir," the helm officer reported. Daniel nodded once. Execute. A ripple of energy tore through the ship as the jump drives engaged. For a brief moment, the stars seemed to warp and bleed across the viewports. Then, blackness again, with the Ferran Gate system rising on the nav charts ahead. On the tactical displays, council ships clustered along the trade lanes, light cruisers and blockade frigates. Posturing, but not enough to stop Earth's war fleet. Kovac stood beside Daniel, arms crossed. They still think we'll blink first, idiots. Daniel's mouth was a thin line. They'll learn. Another alert chimed. Priority intercept. Hartman patched it through. Council broadcast, open channel to our fleet, he said. You'll want to hear this. The chamber filled with the slimy voice of High Chancellor Vektal himself. Human vessels, you are in violation of Council sanctions. Cease your approach immediately or face the consequences. The detained Terran convoy remains under lawful custody until Earth submits to Council oversight. A low growl spread among the bridge crew. Kovac spat on the deck. Lawful custody, my ass. Daniel stepped forward to the comm station. He keyed the channel himself, voice flat and deadly. This is Commander Daniel Reeve of the Terran Confederation. You have seized unarmed civilians. You have until the count of 10 to release them and stand down. If you do not, we will consider this an act of war. He cut the channel. No debate, no discussion. The bridge held its breath as the counter ticked silently in Daniel's mind. 1, 2, 3. No response. 7, 8. Incoming transmission. Hartman shouted. Council fleet raising shields, charging weapons. Daniel's gaze sharpened. Then they've made their choice. Fleet-wide command, battle stations, all ships engage, priority, civilian extraction. The Resolute surged forward, flanked by 2 heavy cruisers. The void lit up with weapons fire, council ships lashing out in panic. Too late. Earth's fleet punched through with surgical precision. Fighter wings deployed like swarms of steel wasps, clearing the blockade. Council frigates crumbled under coordinated missile volleys. The Terran ships didn't just fight, they hunted. Daniel's voice cut through the command net. Assault teams, move on the council dockyards, secure the freighters, get our people out. Minutes passed in a blur of reports. Enemy ships breaking, council squadrons scattering. They hadn't expected humanity to fight with this much ferocity. Assault teams on station! Holt's voice crackled through. Breach successful. Freeing the civilians now. Kovac grinned. They weren't ready for this, Dan. Daniel nodded grimly. They thought we were still the newcomers. They forgot. Humans are fast learners. Another report. Freighters secured, civilians safe, council forces in full retreat. Victory. Swift. Surgical. But the message sent was even clearer. Across the system, council comms buzzed with panic. Member worlds scrambled for answers. The mighty council had just been humiliated by the species they'd tried to break. Daniel stood at the viewport, arms folded. Send a message to all member worlds? He ordered. Let them know. Earth protects its own. And from this day forward, we bow to no one. The news spread faster than light. Even before the fleet had returned to staging positions, intercepted chatter flooded Earth's intelligence networks, council channels in full-blown crisis, member worlds screaming for explanations, civilian holofeeds replaying Terran strike footage on every world with a broadcast beacon. Humans attack Council fleet. Council humiliated. Earth fleet extracts hostages in bold assault. Is this the beginning of war? In the heart of TCS Resolute, Daniel stood before the situation board, watching the feeds rotate through images of burning council dockyards and retreating ships. There was no pride in his expression, just grim certainty. The die was cast. The old order was broken. Kovac strode in, tossing a datapad onto the table. We've got chaos all across council space now. Half their border worlds are refusing to enforce the new sanctions. Others are openly questioning the leadership. Daniel exhaled slowly. Good. The more they fracture, the harder it'll be for them to coordinate a full offensive. Hartman entered next, face tight. Commander, we've just intercepted a high-level transmission. Vectal's calling for an emergency war council. Closed session. They're mobilizing the inner fleets. Daniel's gaze narrowed. So the gloves are coming off. Looks that way. We're also seeing strange movement in neutral systems, mercenary contracts going out. Council's desperate. They'll try to bleed us with proxy wars. Daniel's jaw clenched. Cowards, always trying to make others do their dirty work. Let them. Every ship that fires on us is an enemy, Council or Merc. Just then, a new alert chimed. Incoming secure transmission from Earth Command. Daniel keyed it through. President Alaric's stern face appeared in the holo. No formality this time. The president looked every bit the wartime leader. Commander Reeve, your extraction operation was flawless. The entire planet's watching. You've given them hope and reminded them of what we stand for. Daniel nodded. Thank you, sir. But it won't end here. They're preparing for escalation. The president's voice hardened. We anticipated this. Earth Fleet is authorized for full defensive operations. No first strikes beyond contested zones, yet. But if they cross the line again, we hit back twice as hard. Daniel's voice was steel. Understood. We're ready. Alaric's gaze burned. The Council underestimated us once. They won't get a second chance. The link closed. Kovac rubbed his beard. We should move fast, Dan. If we let them regroup, they'll throw everything they've got at us. Daniel was already steps ahead. I want fleet assets repositioned around key colonies, fast response strike groups on standby, and send covert recon through the neutral corridors. I want eyes on every Council fleet movement. On it, Kovac said, already barking orders. As the officers dispersed, Daniel lingered at the viewport, staring into the cold abyss of space. His reflection stared back, lined with exhaustion, but unbroken. They had wanted submission. They had wanted Earth on its knees. Instead, they had unleashed something far worse, a united humanity with nothing to lose. The door slid open behind him. Hartman returned, face even grimmer. Sir, new development. Multiple Council-aligned corporations are pulling investments from Terran colonies. Economic warfare's begun. Daniel's mouth twitched. Of course it has. The cowards can't win with ships, so they'll try with credits. He turned to Hartman. Send a message to every colony governor. Full resource conservation protocols. Prepare for shortages. And alert the Defense Ministry. We may need to nationalize critical industries. Understood. As Hartman left, Kovac returned again, a dark gleam in his eye. Dan, you need to see this. The fringe colonies, they're rallying, volunteers pouring in. Half the independent warlords along the periphery are pledging support. Looks like you sparked more than just panic. Daniel allowed the faintest smile. Good. The Council wanted to isolate us. Instead, they've lit a fire they can't control. His eyes turned back to the stars. And now, it's our turn to choose the battlefield. 2 weeks passed, and the galaxy tilted further into chaos. In every Council system, the cracks widened. Border worlds stopped paying tribute. Merchant guilds refused new tariffs. Smugglers and independent fleets began running supplies to Terran colonies, some out of profit, some out of sheer defiance. And through it all, Earth's forces stood ready, unyielding, unbroken. The war room aboard TCS Resolute was a hive of activity when Daniel entered. Fleet commanders, intelligence officers, and planetary envoys filled the chamber. Holofeeds displayed the ever-shifting balance of power. Kovac greeted him with a grim nod. Bad news first. Council inner fleet is massing near the Harkon expanse. We estimate 3 full armadas prepping for coordinated strikes. Looks like they're going to test our defenses. Daniel folded his arms. Then we test theirs. Hartman keyed another projection. They're also moving to cut off neutral supply routes, trying to starve us out. Economic wars accelerating. Council-backed banks freezing Terran accounts across Allied systems. Daniel's jaw tightened. We'll adapt. We always do. Then a new voice spoke up. There's more. It was Admiral Tessa Grant, one of Earth's sharpest strategic minds. Her expression was like iron. We've intercepted covert council orders, assassination contracts on key Terran leaders. They're getting desperate. Kovac spat on the deck again. Fools! They can't win clean, so they'll try backroom knives. Daniel's gaze turned cold. Then we put our own knives in place. Hartman, I want Black Ops teams ready. If they want to play dirty, we'll remind them we invented modern espionage. Already moving, Commander. Hartman replied. Admiral Grant leaned in, voice lowering. There's one more opportunity. We've detected several council worlds on the verge of revolt. If we move fast, we could bring them to our side, or at least out of the fight. Daniel's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Names? Juvex Prime, Velran, Hados Station, all chafing under council control. Their populations are already protesting the war. Daniel made his decision instantly. Prepare covert teams, open indirect channels. Make it clear. We don't seek conquest. We seek allies. If they break from the council, we will defend them. A chorus of, Aye, Commander, echoed around the room. For a moment the chamber was still, the weight of the moment pressing down on them all. Then Kovac spoke, voice low. We're on the edge of total war now, Dan. Once the first shot's fired in the core systems. Daniel finished the thought. There's no going back. He rose to his full height, eyes sweeping the officers assembled. We didn't choose this fight, but we will finish it. The Council thought they could break us with treaties, with sanctions, with threats. They thought we'd crawl. His voice hardened, resonating through the room. But they forgot who we are. Humanity doesn't kneel, not to kings, not to emperors, and sure as hell not to this rotten council. If they want war... A grim smile ghosted his face. Then we'll show them a war they'll never forget. Cheers erupted across the chamber. The moment had come. No more hesitation, no more defensive postures. From this point forward, Earth would strike first when needed. The officers surged into action, orders flying, ships moving, alliances forming in the shadows. And at the heart of it all, Daniel stood, staring once more into the stars, cold, vast, unforgiving. Prepare the fleet, he said quietly. The first hammer falls at dawn. Dawn, in the cold language of space, was meaningless. But to the Terran fleet it meant one thing: the hour of the strike. Across the command decks of Earth's warships, final systems checks rippled through. The hum of charged railguns, the pulsing thrum of shield capacitors, the silence of crews in sealed armor. Every man and woman aboard knew what was coming. Daniel stood at the heart of TCS Resolute, armored now in dark combat gear beneath his officer's jacket. The time for ceremony was long past. Kovac approached, eyes gleaming with anticipation. Fleet in position, Dan. Harkon Expanse patrol routes are locked. We'll punch straight through to their staging grounds. Daniel nodded once. Initiate Operation Iron Requiem. Admiral Grant's voice came through the tactical net. All wings, execute synchronized burn. No quarter, no hesitation. And with that, the Terran fleet surged forward, an armada of steel and fury. At the edge of the Harkon Expanse, the Council's inner fleets waited. Layered defenses, minefields, automated gun platforms. It looked formidable on the holomaps. But it wasn't built to stop this. The first strike was surgical. Terran stealth frigates slipped through the outer edges, disabling key comm relays and targeting jammers. In the first 10 minutes of engagement, half the Council's battle grid went dark. Then came the main assault. Heavy cruisers and dreadnoughts driving straight into the enemy lines, guns blazing with terrifying precision. Where the Council's ships sought to intimidate, Earth's ships came to kill. Daniel's voice echoed through the bridge. "Press the attack. No retreat. Drive them from the sector." Kovacs grinned savagely. "They wanted war. Now they'll choke on it." The Council admirals scrambled to respond, but their forces were fractured. Some captains hesitated, unwilling to risk full engagement with Earth's most elite fleet. Others fought desperately and died swiftly. As battle reports poured in, Hartmann relayed updates. Council flanks collapsing, multiple ships surrendering, civilian transports in the system broadcasting neutrality, many requesting Terran protection. Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Mark those ships as non-hostile. We don't make enemies where we don't have to." Even amid the fury of battle, the Council's narrative was falling apart. They had promised their member worlds that humanity would fold. Instead, Earth was punching holes through their strongest fleets. On the main tactical screen, the Council flagship, a massive ornate dreadnought called Vexurian's Wrath, tried to reposition, its escorts scattering. Daniel's voice cut through the chaos. "Target Vexurian's Wrath. Break their command spine." Railguns fired in synchronized bursts, wave after wave. The dreadnought's shields flared and failed. A final barrage from TCS Hammerfall punched through its core. The Council flagship detonated in a silent bloom of light. A stunned silence gripped the enemy formations. Then panic. Dozens of Council ships broke formation, fleeing into hyperspace. Victory. Total. As the Terran fleet regrouped, cheers erupted through the comm channels. Kovacs slapped Daniel's shoulder. "By God, Dan, we just shattered the Council's backbone." But Daniel's expression remained cold. "This is only the first blow. The war is far from over." Just then, Hartmann's console chimed. "Commander, urgent intercept. Council leadership transmitting emergency broadcasts." And something else. "What is it?" Daniel asked. Hartmann hesitated. "A faction within the Council is requesting talks, privately. They want out." A ripple of realization passed through the bridge. The Council was fracturing, finally irreversibly. Daniel's gaze turned back to the stars, voice low. "Good. Let's see who still wants to fight, and who's ready to surrender." The galaxy had changed. The old balance was gone. And at the heart of it, one simple truth remained. Humans had walked away from the Council's table. And now the Council was running to catch up. The aftermath of the Harkon Expanse assault rippled through the galaxy like a shockwave. Worlds that had once spoken with the Council's voice now whispered in the dark. Treaties were torn up. Long-standing alliances crumbled. The illusion of the Council's unshakable power shattered beyond repair. Aboard TCS Resolute, the war room pulsed with new intel every hour. Daniel stood at the center of it, gaunt from exhaustion but unwavering. His officers moved around him like clockwork, eyes sharper, steps quicker. Everyone knew the weight of what they had done. Kovacs entered briskly, datapad in hand. "Dan, it's happening. We've got 5 major Council member states sending envoys. Quiet ones. They want to open talks. They've seen which way the wind's blowing." Daniel allowed a thin smile. "Good. We'll hear them. But on our terms. No more backroom deals. No more threats." Hartmann chimed in from the comms station. "Intercepts confirm it. Council High Command is in disarray. Vectal's lost control. Factions are breaking off. Some worlds are even purging pro-Council leadership." Daniel's eyes hardened. They built this house of rot. Let them watch it burn. But the war wasn't over. Not yet. Council loyalists still held key systems. Desperate and cornered, they would lash out. Admiral Grant keyed up a new projection. Commander, we're seeing concentration of remaining Council fleets near the Polaron corridor. They'll try one last stand to salvage what's left of their authority. Daniel studied the map. The Polaron corridor, a vital trade artery. If Earth seized it, the Council's economic influence would collapse entirely. Then we strike first, Daniel said. Prepare the fleet. No half measures. We take the corridor and end this war on our terms. Kovac grinned darkly. That'll do it? As preparations began, a new message came through, direct, encrypted, from Earth Command. President Alaric's image flickered to life. The wear of war was plain on his face, but so was fierce pride. Commander Reeve, you and your fleet have changed history. The Council is broken. The galaxy is watching. Daniel met the Hollow's gaze. The war's not done, sir. Not yet, but we will finish it. Alaric nodded. We know. And Earth stands behind you. Do what must be done. The link ended. Later that cycle, as the Terran fleet powered toward the Polaron corridor, Daniel stood alone at the viewport, watching the stars swirl past. We were never meant to fit their mold. He thought. We carved our place with grit, not diplomacy. And when they pushed too far, he exhaled slowly. We reminded them what humans are capable of. Kovac joined him, voice low. Hard to believe, Dan. 2 months ago they thought we'd beg for scraps. Now they're the ones begging for mercy. Daniel's jaw set. We'll finish this fight. Then we build something better. No more councils of corruption. Kovac grinned. To walking away from that damn table, then. Daniel's gaze never left the stars. To never going back, he said. And somewhere beyond the dark, amid fractured alliances and collapsing power, the galaxy began to learn a lesson it would not forget. When humans walk away from the table, they do not come back empty-handed. They come back in force,